Okay, we're going back on the record. Did you guys work everything out with that exhibit over the lunch hour?
No, Your Honor, we're going to need a ruling on the admission of this exhibit. We actually identified the date that we produced the backup documentations, which the summary serves to summarize. That was back in September 2020. During this interim period, I sent Mr. Gassworth a copy of that link, and then I sent him a fresh link for the actual Exhibit 39, which would be those documents, those backup documents. And we would ask for admission of 35 as the backup documents, and I can lay a foundation or predicate with the witness if I need to do that. But I think the witness has already testified as to the existence of the checks and that they had bank records that supported those checks, and those are actually the documents in Exhibit 39.
So what's the area in dispute? That not all of it was produced or something, or what's the area of dispute?
No, I think, and I'll let Mr. Gassworth fill this in, but my understanding of the objection is that we didn't comply with TRE 1006 and that we didn't provide, I guess, details as to the invoices and the receipts for which these payments were made. But I would draw the court's attention, and I appreciate the court. I think the court is pulling up O'Connor's every now and then. The 1006 rule in O'Connor's actually has a case cited below, Shaw versus Lemon, in which it says that Rule 1006 states that a summary's underlying records must have been made available to the opponent for inspection, which is what happened here. It was available in 2020, but it does not state that the summary itself must be produced in discovery or disclosed within a certain time period of trial. P has not cited, nor have we found any case requiring a Rule 1006 summary to be produced in discovery.
And that's in Shaw v. Lemon, which is actually a case out of my court. So I do kind of remember that case.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thank you, Your Honor. And so my position, Your Honor, would just be that we're more than complying with the rule. The witness has laid the predicate for admission of the summary, and we're certainly open to laying the predicate for the backup documentations. And I think that Mr. Gassworth has had since September 2020 to make these objections and confer with me pursuant to the stipulations pursuant to the scheduling order, and has not done so. And so I would ask the court allow us to admit this exhibit.
Which exhibit? Just 30, the summary, or all of the exhibits? 35
and then 39, which I provided to Mr. Gassworth in the interim period as we were talking.
What's your response, Mr. Gassworth?
Is that the summaries that were provided in the base ranges by counsel for production does show that copies of the checks in the summary have been produced. However, not the corresponding invoices to which the checks relate, to which it's being offered into evidence to prove performance.
Doesn't that just go to the weight of the evidence, though, not the admissibility?
Well, and then it's just a summary of costs without a purpose.
Objections overruled. 35 and 39 are admitted.
Thank you, Your Honor. And Ms. Rieger, I did send you a copy of 39, but I didn't send you one with a bait stamp. Do you want, or I mean, with an exhibit stamp? Would you like me to send you one with an exhibit stamp?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so it's clear 39 is the summary, correct?
No, I'm sorry. 35 is the summary. 39 is the backup.
Okay. All right. Cross, Mr. Gassworth.
Yes, Your Honor. Good afternoon, Mr. Lee.
Good afternoon.
I'd like to draw your attention. Oh, can I share my screen to show some exhibits, Your Honor?
No problem. Go ahead.
Okay. I'd like to draw your attention to a pay application. This is Plaintiff's Exhibit 3, which has already been admitted. Have you ever seen this document, Mr. Lee?
This is pay application number 1, yes.
Okay. And then attached to the pay application is a continuation sheet with a list of individual items, numbers 1 through 77. Do you see that?
Yes.
And in your role, you're here today testifying as the Chief Financial Officer of Four Corners Development, correct?
That's correct.
But you are also the Chief Financial Officer of Highland Senior Living, correct?
Correct.
And Highland Senior Living is the owner of this project that we're here about today, correct?
For the record, the owner is Highlands Village Senior Living.
Yes, I'm sorry. The names, they get confused, but the owner of the project we're here about today, correct?
Correct.
And you're the are you also the CFO of Highland Senior Living Arlington LLC?
Yes.
Okay, which is why you were able to compilate the records from the three different entities of the costs incurred by those three separate distinct entities, correct?
Correct.
And so can you identify for me on Exhibit 3 the items that Four Corners was to perform?
Yes, it's from line items 57 through, I believe, 77 on the following page.
Right here, correct?
Correct.
And just generally, those items, and if we just go through them real quickly, low voltage, cable, CCTV, nurse call, access control, office automation, TV music, radio, water feature, laundry equipment, furniture for the common areas, dining room furniture, outdoor furniture, office furniture, kitchen equipment, wall posters, additional landscape, signage, and courtyard, right?
Correct.
And if we add up all the numbers from 57 to 77, do you know what that totals?
I believe it's $1.3 million.
Correct. That's exactly correct. $1.3 million. And that was the basis of the agreement by and between Four Corners and Allsol, was the performance of these items, numbers 56 through 77, for approximately $1.3 million, correct?
Correct.
Objection, Your Honor. I'm going to object. This is an agreement between Allsol and the owner, not Four Corners.
Your Honor, as the witness testified, we were discussing the scope of Four Corners from this document.
Overruled.
So of these items, 57 to 77, can you identify which ones that you did not perform?
In general, it looks like we performed everything. 57 to 77, we perform everything.
Okay, so you performed every item in this list fully.
The 77 courtyard, we performed some, and then alarm performed some. But I believe alarm also charged the owner, Highlands Village Senior Living, extra for the courtyard on future agreements during the construction process.
Well, do you recall that you gave a deposition last week? Do you recall that testimony?
Which testimony?
From your deposition last week.
Right, I provided a deposition last week, correct?
Yes. And do you recall your testimony from that deposition regarding your contention that you weren't able to perform all the work because you hadn't been paid? And you even referred to that during your direct testimony here this morning.
Right, the work is actually still ongoing.
Right. What work is still ongoing?
There's a lot of furniture that we haven't been able to provide, a lot of appliances that we still haven't been able to provide for the facility.
Mm-hmm. Did Four Corners provide the walk-in freezer and cooler?
The walk-in freezer and cooler, no.
Okay. Isn't that part of the kitchen equipment?
Nope.
Okay. Where would that be in this line item if it wasn't in kitchen equipment?
Kitchen appliance line, I just saw it, line item. There's a line items that belongs to the general contractor to provide the walk-in freezer and cooler.
Okay.
Oh, line item 50.
Line item 50, kitchen. Do you believe this is for the walk-in freezer and kitchen?
I believe so, because well, there's those two items, the freezer and coolers, are just part of it, of the budget. There were like sinks, 3-compartment sinks. Yeah, 3-compartment sinks. I'm very familiar with the kitchen items because I'm the one that actually ordered everything that's in the kitchen, apart from the sink, walk-in freezer, and cooler. I ordered them, I unpacked them from the box, and I assemble everything.
Correct. That's great. So if we go to your listing of costs that you state that is now admitted as Exhibit 35, on page 1, these are the costs that Four Corners incurred, correct?
Correct.
And this totals $390,000, correct?
Correct.
And within this listing of accounts, there is several line items related to management fees paid to Highland Senior Living Arlington LLC. Do you see that?
Yes.
So we have this one for $15,000. 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 We have this one for $15,000.
Right.
So that's 15, 30, 45, 60, $75,000 paid to a management fee for Highland Senior Living Arlington LLC. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. What management fees were you utilizing to perform those items on the pay app that we just went through?
Right. So Four Corners contracted with Highland Senior Living Arlington LLC, mainly their labor, their expertise from this company. You know, we need people to follow up with vendors, supervise, creating, like designing logos, marketing materials, all that stuff. So there were labors provided by Highland Senior Living Arlington in connection with this project.
Okay, other than the checks that you paid that I have confirmed were paid, do you have any contracts with Highland Senior Living Arlington to support your contention that there was an agreement between the two parties to provide this?
Yes.
Where is that agreement?
I have it. You never asked for it.
Okay. When was it signed?
Oh, 2016 or 2017, probably 2017, I mean.
Are there any invoices from Highland Senior Living Arlington?
Yes.
Okay. So you pay these management fees, and who owns Highland Senior Living Arlington?
It's owned by Highland Senior Capital LLC, and then Eric Tan.
Okay. Let me pull up another exhibit real quick. Oops. I'm sorry, I'm having technical difficulties here. I can't, let me just move on to this exhibit going back to 35. I can't pull this up right now. I'll do it in a second. I can't find, hold on. Here we go. Now it's on the right screen. I apologize for the technical difficulties. So in here, also on Exhibit 35 on page 1, you are paying $6,283 to the owner of the project, Highland Village Senior Living, for a project manager fee. Do you see that?
Right.
Okay. What does Four Corners as a subcontractor to Allsol paying the owner of the project a project manager fee?
This is for Rogers. This is back payment to Highlands Village, because Highlands Village was paying Raj Panta, the project manager of Four Corners Development, since 2016 to work on all these furnishing items. But because Four Corners weren't formed at that time, we had Highlands Senior Highlands Village Senior Living pay his salary from this entity until we're able to get Four Corners up and going, get some money in, capital in, so that we can pay Raj. So this is just back payment for Raj's salary, basically.
Yes, and you previously testified that Raj, at your deposition, that Mr. Panta was an employee of Four Corners. Did you not?
Correct.
Well, I'd like to show you a document. And Your Honor, this is a Mr. Coe's witness disclosures provided in the ancillary arbitration clause. And at number 16, it represents that Mr. Raj Panta is an employee of the project owner. Who was the project owner, sir?
Project owner of the building. The
Yes, sir.
owner of the building is Highlands Village Senior Living LLC.
Correct. So Mr. Panta, as represented in this pleading, is an employee of the project owner. Do you see that?
Right.
But your testimony is still that he was an employee of Four Corners.
That's true.
Okay.
As a matter of fact, I believe Mr. Alam sent the bank Darren Durrett around April of 2018, basically substantiating Raj Panta was working on these furnishing items, and the nature of this project is very complicated. And with Raj on there, we were able to control our costs.
Okay. Object is non-responsive. Mr. Lee.
Sustained, just answer the question.
Mr. Lee, Mr. Panta was the owner's representative, the project owner's representative for the construction, was he not?
Objection, relevance, Your Honor.
What's the relevance?
The relevance is they're claiming costs paid pursuant to a contract between Four Corners and Allsol, and such costs were not paid for the benefit of Allsol, rather for the benefit of the owner.
Your Honor, it's the same objection. I'm not sure how Raj Panta's role on either project or either side of this project has to do with what Mr. Gasworth just articulated.
It goes to the credibility of the witness along with the sufficiency of the damages sought.
I'll overrule the objection.
Yeah, can you repeat the question?
Can the court reporter repeat the question, please?
Okay, so Mr. Panta, let me see. I gotta increase my the size. But your testimony is still that Mr. Panta was still an employee of Four Corners. You say that's true. And then question, okay. And then answer as a matter of fact. I believe Mr. Panta.
Oh, okay, I remember now, thank you. So Mr. Lee, going back to Exhibit 35. Sorry, can you see, are you seeing Exhibit 35 now, sir?
Yes.
So just on this first page here, we have a $54,000 payment made to Highland Senior Living Arlington for decorative lighting. We have 15, 30, 45, 60, $75,000 paid to Highland Senior Living Arlington as a management fee. Is that correct?
Correct.
And then we have two payments, one here to Thala Raja Panta as project manager, and another one here for another project manager, but this one for Highland Senior Living Arlington for another $12,500, correct?
Correct.
And these are the costs that you're claiming you incurred in the performance of your contract with Allsol, correct?
Correct.
Moving on to page 2. And I believe you covered this a little bit in your direct testimony, but these are costs that were incurred and paid for by Highland Village Senior Living LLC, correct?
Correct.
And again, we see Thala Raja Pranta as project manager throughout, correct?
Correct.
And he was paid monthly by the owner for representation services, correct?
Correct.
In addition to that, we have payments back to, and I believe during your deposition, you said this is to your company, Four Corners, correct?
Correct.
So we have two $1,500 reimbursement checks paid by Four Corners, correct?
Correct.
And again, two more here for another $3,000, correct?
To Four Corners, correct.
Yes. And then at the bottom, there is a $55,000 charge for a bus.
Right.
And I'd like to go back to exhibit number 2 or exhibit number 3. And can you tell me where a bus is in these items? Rental of a bus for $50,000.
It's not in this document, no.
Okay. And then moving on to page 4, these are costs that were incurred by Highland Senior Living Arlington LLC, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and you're also the CFO of that company, correct?
Correct.
Okay, and in here, we also have payments to Thala Raja Panta, correct?
Correct.
We have payments for a consultant, correct?
Correct.
And then at the bottom, there is an undefined general notation of 27-2018, $92,468.41 in payroll without a corresponding check or a corresponding notation of payment. Do you see that?
All right.
Okay. What is this for?
Payroll from this entity to work on the finishing items for this project.
Mhm. Other than-
Guys, unfortunately, I think I'm about to have to take a break for a little bit. So I'm gonna you guys can stay on the line. I'm not sure how long this is gonna take, but I'm gonna need to take at least a 10-minute break. So why don't you guys just sign back on at 1:20, and hopefully I'll be able to get back on. So I will be right back, okay?